Local Laundry is in the business of building community through purpose driven Canadian made clothing. We have Connor with us, who's the co founder at Local Laundry. Thanks for joining in, Connor.
Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
Awesome. So, I've been reading about you guys for the past couple of days, and honestly, it took me a while to absorb all the community work that you are doing. And we'll come to that. But first, I wanted to know more about the apparel side of the business, where you are focused on being local and away from the fast fashion world. So could you tell us what exactly are you building it, and why did you make a decision to go local there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started out, I mean, we weren't always made in Canada.
Hmm.
We were just starting out. We didn't know too much about the business, and kind of like
Okay.
everyone, we just go on Google and YouTube and try and figure out the best
Right.
places to get stuff. And we thought it was all about finding a garment and making a garment for as cheap as possible, because that's usually the traditional way of the clothing manufacturing business is how can I make a garment for cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And the number one way to
Right.
do that is to outsource it, right? To send it
Hmm.
overseas and that kind of thing. And what we slowly started realizing, we started getting feedback, was that people wanted to support clothing that was made here. You know, um, they wanted to support it for a number of reasons. The quality was better. You support local workers, Canadian workers. You're supporting manufacturers that adhere to strict Canadian labor and environmental laws. So we started doing some research, and it turns out that prior to 1989, over 70% of all clothing consumed that is bought and sold in this country was made here in Canada. 70%.
Oh.
Now,
Hmm.
fast forward to 2015, only 5% of all clothing that's sold here in Canada is actually made in Canada. We thought that was shocking.
Right.
Virtually, there's no clothing being made here in Canada. We thought that was a bit of a shame. So we kind of made it our mission that, we really want to support Canadian manufacturing. There's a plethora of benefits, and like I kind of mentioned, higher quality product. You're helping support a local and a diverse Canadian economy. You're helping support Canadian workers that are getting paid living wages with benefits, and you're supporting manufacturers that adhere to safe Canadian labor and environmental laws.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. And Local Laundry wants to be Canada's best company at building community. And I love that mission. So can you tell us how exactly are you planning to do that?
Absolutely. So we like to build community. We like to say that we're not in the business of selling clothes. We're in the business of building community. We do that through a number of ways, and the Canadian made clothing is just a vehicle to do that.
Right.
So it's a lot like your project that you got going on here is number one,
Mm-hmm.
telling stories, connecting with other people that are passionate about the local community, like yourself, you know,
Right.
and helping to share their stories. So we actually have 5 pillars of community, which we love, which is one, representing where you come from, which is whether it's YYC or Canada, being proud of where you're from and representing it. 2, sharing stories from the community, connecting with others, whether they're other businesses, nonprofits, artists, athletes, you name it. As long as they're doing something to give back to the community, we want to tell that story, whether it's through our social media, our podcasts, our different
Mm-hmm.
chat platforms, or even creating a custom garment together. And that kind of leads us into our third pillar, which is we want to collaborate with people, right? Whether that's
Mm-hmm.
the behind me, we've made beer with breweries, we've made candles with other people, we've made shirts. Let's let's collaborate and work together, because how can we find ways to help each other? The fourth is we want to be always giving back, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a goal that we want to be able to raise $1 million for local charities across Canada by 2030, which is a
Okay.
big lofty goal. And we want to showcase that donating money is great, but it's not the only way that you can give back. There's plenty of other ways that you can give back. There's not just strictly donating money. And the fifth and
Right.
final pillar is only supporting Canadian manufacturing. If we can't make it
Mm-hmm.
here in Canada, we're not going to make it. We want to showcase that you can run a profitable business and make stuff here in Canada.
Mm-hmm. I love how you have sort of quantified it by these 5 pillars. I think as an organization, it would definitely help you keep your progress in track in mind. So so
Thank
that's
you.
that's that's really a nice way of approaching this. And what was the reason behind naming it Local Laundry? Is there a story there as well?
Yeah, it's actually my wife who came up with the name. So very similar how you came to Canada to do your MBA. I actually went to Sweden to do my MBA.
Okay.
So my wife and I lived in Sweden at the time, and that's where Local Laundry was born. That's where I kind of came up with the idea of wanting to support, come up with a clothing that really represented me as a Canadian and the values that I believed in, and we wanted to. My wife came up with it. We wanted to come up with something that what if everyone's laundry could be local. What if there
Hmm.
was some way that you look in your closet, you look in your laundry basket, and you're like, yep, that was all local, rather than
Interesting.
it's all made from overseas. And and that's kind of the nice story. The non nice story is we had this devil of a washing machine that every time we would run it, it was just terrible, and it would dance all
Yeah.
over the floor, and it was terrible to do laundry. So I came home one day with this business idea, and I told my wife, and she just had lost the battle with the laundry machine. I was like, I'm gonna
Okay.
make a clothing company where everyone's clothes are local and everyone wants to support local. And I
Right.
was like, well, I have no idea what to call it. She's like, why don't you call
Hmm.
it local laundry? I was like,
Yeah.
that's the greatest word.
Awesome. And like diving deeper into your personal journey, I think you were working in oil and gas. So what motivated you to come out of that sector and start building community?
Yeah, well, it was a pretty easy motivation. I mean, one day I went into work and they said we don't need you anymore, so
Okay.
they laid me off, and and it's something that was not unique to me. That's happened to a lot of Calgarians over the last 5 years, and it's been pretty tough in the city. But as Calgarians and Albertans, we're resilient people, and it's either
Right.
let's create something to kind of get back to normal, and let's build something that we believe in, that we can grow and own, and something that we can have fun with, and so it was after I got laid off that I decided, well, let's move to Sweden, let's pursue my MBA, and let's try this thing at becoming an entrepreneur.
Awesome, awesome. And this journey, I believe, I mean, I can see through the challenges that you would have faced. I mean, like moving to another country and then losing your job and then starting something on your own there. But what were like some of the biggest challenges in your entrepreneurial journey, which could serve as an advice for entrepreneurs that are getting started just now?
Yeah, well, if it's someone that's just getting started, I think so many of us are afraid to just just get started, and I can imagine you kind of had a similar thing when you had the idea for Epic. It probably was really exciting in your head, and then when it goes, oh, how do I do this? And there's so much unknown, there's so much that you don't know how to do,
Right.
and then that scares a lot of people, and then you put it off, you go, oh, maybe I'll wait, or maybe I'll do that next week, or maybe it's not a good idea,
Yeah.
and so my biggest advice is, if you have a good idea, just stop talking about it, don't tell me about it, show me, right? Just just go after it, and start it, because I think the biggest sin that you can do as an entrepreneur is just talk about something and never make it happen.
Okay.
So stop talking about it and just go do it.
Yeah.
That's And it's scary, and that's probably the biggest challenge, is because you don't know what you don't know, and you're afraid of what you don't know.
Right.
And I get it; it is scary, and
Yeah.
you're afraid of failing, and you're afraid of everyone telling you that was a really dumb idea. Why'd you do that? You're so dumb, and that kind of thing. But once you overcome that, it'd be the greatest thing. Even if you do fail, you'll have learned a ton. You'll have gotten some great experience. I just say, stop talking about it and go out and do it.
I think it's that balance between having that vision and working on executing it on a daily basis. I mean, that's good advice. Yeah. I mean, like you can keep talking about ideas all day long, but
Yeah.
I think the one who sort of executes it makes that idea unique.
Yeah, everyone wants to hold on to their ideas, and I'm not going to tell you my idea because you're going to steal my idea.
Right.
And ideas are cheap. Everyone's got
Yeah.
10,000 different ideas, but it's those that actually take those ideas and do something with them
Right.
that are successful. Because you can just sit back and come up with ideas all day long, but if you don't turn them into something, what's the point?
For sure. Yeah. And lastly, Connor, so I wanted to understand what lies ahead for local laundry, like in terms of the markets, in terms of the products, in terms of continuing to build communities. What can we expect in the future?
Well, what you can expect is we want to continue to be heralds of Canadian manufacturing. We want to continue to highlight and educate, the broader community, whether it's customers, organizations, that kind of thing, the importance of supporting Canadian made and how much ripple effect that actually has. And a big part of our journey now is we're starting to work with large organizations, so you see large organizations that whether they have a big volunteer day or they have an event and they go and buy these, try and find the shirts for as cheap as possible, and then people wear them for one day, but they don't fit, they don't look good, they don't last, and then they throw them out, and then those shirts just go into the landfill. So we're importing all these shirts
Okay.
in order to just sit in our landfill. And so we want to really educate customers and organizations that instead, why don't you, let's spend a little bit more money and let's buy less, and let's buy a premium product that's gonna last long, that's gonna fit good, feel good, but that's also more importantly going to build communities and support others. You're supporting not only local business, you're supporting Canadian manufacturing, you're supporting all of our supply chain, all the people that work within our supply chain that are all Canadians, and people from Vancouver to Montreal to Toronto to Calgary, you name it. There's so many Canadians that are within our supply chain. And by supporting, a small business, especially Canadian made business, you're not just supporting one small local business, you're supporting many, you're supporting diversity in the economy, and you're voting with your wallet, what kind of world you want to see,
Right.
and how you want products to be made, and how you want companies to behave. So you can certainly expect to hear us. We want to grow this brand nationally. We want to work with some large, organizations across the country to help spread our message of supporting local and supporting Canadian made.
Awesome. I love this aspect about your business, like especially the balance between the social and sustainable aspect. Like you have kept it local, and obviously it helps reduce your business's carbon footprint, and while also being committed to those social aspects, and not just like talking about it, but you have established those 5 pillars which sort of keep you on track. So awesome work that you guys are doing there. Really impressed by that. And thanks a lot for joining in today and sharing all those insights with us, and all the best for your journey ahead.
Well, thank you, and thank you for doing what you do and giving a platform to startups and people that want to build community and get out there, and for a place for inspiring entrepreneurs to come join and listen and hear other stories. So I think what you're doing is fantastic, and really looking forward to staying in touch and